Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the Krista and Ed show. And we're really excited today. We have a friend of ours from Minneapolis, Dan Mccabe, who's really scooched in somewhere really quick and gave us about a half hour of time. And then he's running off to another meeting. So we're really excited and we appreciate your time. Dan is a guest, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You've been a guest speaker. You've written some books. You've been involved in real estate since you were 19. In fact, you started as an entrepreneur when you were 16 years of age trading baseball cards, and which is awesome. That's the start of entrepreneurial spirit, right? And then basically have gone on to create all sorts of coaching programs and consulting to help people in real estate. And now you've created a new tribe that you're working on called Residual
Bulldogs.
Sorry.
Bulldogs, come on.
Bullfrogs do not sound as cool as bulldogs.
I'm totally going to go by residualbullfrogs.com right now, just in case, so nobody else gets it. So.
Well, we watched a nature show, my 4-year-old and I, last night on bullfrogs. Anyways, so we're really excited. Thank you so much for joining us. And
yeah, of course,
hear about your journey and your story. And we'll pass it off to you.
All right. Well, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. So, yeah, you said you want to kind of go around entrepreneurship. I've got a long entrepreneurial story. So, and I won't go super deep, but yeah, I was trading baseball cards when I was 16, and I was the degenerate kid who actually looked up in the newspaper, figured out how to get tables at card shows, and was going off and doing all that kind of fun stuff. But shortly thereafter, when was it? When I was 18 years old, I was a senior in high school. I wanted to be an architect, or I wanted to be a stockbroker. So if you fast forward in my life, real estate investor is just kind of the marriage of those two things. But I went to a house party, my senior year of high school. It was a college house party because that was super cool. But it was actually a friend of mine who was living in a house where the guy he was renting from was one of the other students. His parents had helped him buy the house, and then he was renting from him. And the guy whose parents helped him buy the house, I realized this guy is having these other 3 people move into his house, pay him rent, and he doesn't have to pay any rent, but yet he gets the master bedroom. He gets the only space in the garage. He has a bathroom in his bedroom. He gets all the cool stuff. He's not paying any money. So, relatively long story short, I was able to weasel my way and talk my parents into doing the same thing with me. I got lucky and got a scholarship to college. So I started buying my first house when I was 19 years old. Made all kinds of mistakes along the way, but sure enough, I bought a 4-bedroom house. I charged each one of my friends $290 to be there. It covered my mortgage. I had the master bedroom. I had the master bath. I had the only space in the garage. It was great, and I learned about halfway into college that I didn't really like having roommates that much, or a bunch of roommates. I'm kind of a very independent person. And so I ended up renting that house to the hockey team, or some of the kids from the hockey team at my college. And since it worked out so well, we were able to buy another duplex where I just had friends who lived in the other half. I could go see them if I wanted to, but otherwise I had my own space. And yeah, I left college with 2 properties and just started kind of rolling from there. And ever since then, I wanted to be a real estate investor. That's what I left college for. I got my degree in finance. It was a bachelor's of science in finance with an emphasis on real estate. So really, you break that down, it's a BS in real estate, which I just meant to say. So,
I love your analogy.
Love it.
Right. So, it's a 4-year degree. It happened. University of St. Thomas in St. Paul, right behind me here, about a mile. Yeah. But yeah, so I got that. That was back when the market was really hot. So, I can't speak to all the markets around the country, but we all know about when the real estate bubble burst, and it was happening in Minnesota like everywhere else. I was a punk 23-year-old kid who wanted to invest in real estate, but even I knew back then that housing rates can't go up 13, 16% year after year after year when salaries are only going up 3%. Yeah. Eventually that's going to crash on itself, and a lot of people saw what happened there. So I jumped in. I wanted to be around the market all the time, so I became a real estate agent. Part of a BS in real estate is they give you a real estate license. It's kind of funny. I didn't even have to take the class. So I was a real estate agent for a few years. Did pretty well at that. And that was a golden era to be a real estate agent, just because you're stumbling across sales left, right, and sideways. I eventually opened my own brokerage. kept that going for a while. But when the foreclosure boom hit, it was a really hard business to own your own brokerage. One of my broker mentors kind of joked, and he said, well, what are the first 5 letters in broker? So I'll let that sink in for a second. But yeah, it was a tough business, because when all those foreclosures were happening, it was really hard to work with sellers. Everybody's losing a bunch of money. The banks are taking all these properties back, and it was really hard to work with the banks because they didn't have systems and processes yet. So all of a sudden we were working 4 times harder for, a fraction of the commission we were making. And at the same time, that's when the foreclosures started hitting, that was my time to strike and start buying more houses. And yeah, that was, I don't know, it's my parents, everybody else thought I was crazy because they're all watching the news and how bad real estate is. That was like the time to invest in real estate. And that time will happen again. And we can talk about that later if you want, but that time's not as far away as I think a lot of us like to think it is. Yeah. But we were upset if we made less than 40 grand flipping a house back then. And we did a lot of them for a few years there. And ultimately, the retail market eventually caught up with that market, and buyers got savvier and started paying less, and that market disappeared. Then we got into new construction, and been doing that for the last 4 or 5 years. We're kind of wrapping that up, because now after 4 years of new construction, it's kind of funny. Whenever there's money to be made somewhere and the masses start flocking to it, eventually there's not going to be money to be made there anymore. And now that's what happened to new construction in our area. There's so many people doing it. All the materials vendors, they want to get paid more because they see an opportunity. There's a shortage of labor because there's so many people do it, so they want to get paid more. Lot prices are up because more people are doing it. When everything goes up, those margins are getting thinner. So we've actually flipped our real estate business now completely, and we're wrapping up our last few projects, and then we're just becoming lenders. So we're using the financial resources we created over the years and our investor relationships, and we're becoming hard money lenders. For those of you in real estate, you'll know what that is. But basically, we're a bank for people that can't get approved at a bank. And it also goes well with my Residual Bulldog theme, because it doesn't involve a lot of work, and we're just lending money. We're not on projects every day. We're not on site. It's a lot more passive, which is a big part of my focus right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing the backstory of how people get started in their entrepreneurial journey. So I like that you picked up on what your buddy was doing there, and you're like, wait a minute, I want my own master bedroom too. That's awesome. So yeah, and now you're focusing on like residual income and creating a residual lifestyle. Why don't you talk a little bit about network marketing? Because that's another great way to create residual income as well.
Yeah, thanks for leading into that. And that was something that we talked about a little bit, but that's part of the whole Residual Bulldog journey. And what we're putting together with the Residual Bulldog is, I see a lot of people, and I see them all the time, because I still have the Minnesota Real Estate Club, which is a group that we created here locally. And I see people coming through, and they're going to the big guru meetings and seeing the big seminars, and they're spending $2 grand, 25 grand, 75 grand for these courses. And these courses tend to leave out some of the most boilerplate basic stuff that you need to be an entrepreneur. It might tell you a lot of the strategies on how to flip a house and how to manage contractors, but if it never takes you a course on how to sell in general, you're kind of screwed. Yeah. You kind of need some of this boilerplate stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I got into network marketing years ago and loved it. It was just because it's some of the best sales training in the entire world that every entrepreneur should have to go through at some point. Because if you can figure out, how to sell there, they provide some of the best training in the world for free, just because they want you to sell those products. But it's phenomenal sales training. So I'm a big fan of it for that way. And the other thing is, within the Residual Bulldog, kind of lifestyle that we're creating, a lot of people come to us and they say, well, I want to get into investing in real estate. I want to go buy a rental property. And then we figure out what it is they actually have, how much time do they have, how much money do they have, all these important things. And you realize, well, they don't have time because they got a full-time job. They got 3 kids. 2 of the kids are in sports. They only have $25,000 of disposable income in the first place to start investing with, which in real estate is not that much money.
Yeah.
And you just look at them like, really? Like, you can put all 25 grand into one basket, and in that one basket, you're going to buy a rental property and hope to cash flow a couple $100 every single month. And that's where we've taken a lot of people and we bring them back to entrepreneurship basics, and we help them with different network marketing opportunities or things like that, just because I'm like, if you just want a couple $100 a month, we can help you do that for a lot cheaper and a lot less risk.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you how many people I've seen come through our real estate events or our club and things like that go out and do that exact same scenario where they put 25 grand in one project. 3 years later, they're so sick of taking midnight phone calls about toilets that they end up getting rid of it, taking a loss, and they don't even care about the 25 grand anymore because they're so fed up. And it's just, we're trying to pull people back. Like it's always been uncomfortable for me to watch people go through and spend that really big money. And we've been guilty. We charge the big money for coaching, and but it's always been tough to watch them go through and then not actually be able to do it because they don't have the proper skill sets up front. And they just put themselves in really bad positions. It's crazy. I think, I know some of the people, some of the biggest real estate seminar companies in the country, and the numbers are staggering. It's like 3% of people that go through them will actually do anything. So we just want to take people, like, not have them risk all their money up front and bring them back to a place where they can just start taking baby steps. Start at A and work through to Z. There's no reason to start at M and try and get to Z. And also, we're just, we really just preach like building a residual income and a residual lifestyle and building wealth. It's not an overnight game. It's, you got to build that first dollar. One of the things we always say is the hardest residual dollar to earn is the first dollar. Once you figure out that first dollar, though, then you can make the next 10, the next 100, and, you can go on from there and it exponentially grows. But we're just trying to get people to, I don't know, it's kind of, it goes against what a lot of people are saying, but we're trying to get people to slow down a little bit. Like, let's slow down. We don't need to get rich quick. Let's get rich the right way.
I was just going to say, there really truly is no get rich quick, answer out there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, there are ways that are things where you can make a bunch of money all of a sudden, but residual income, I think long term is the actual key to be able to sustain when, the market does things like the real estate does and brings you through those crashes and ups and downs. Right.
Yeah.
And I love what you're doing, teaching people the foundation, because that's something that skill set can be used really in any industry. Right.
Right.
Across the board. So that's awesome.
And, just to piggyback on that, one of the things when we are teaching, on the network marketing side of things is one of the epiphanies I had in this business. And for any network marketers, which I'm sure you get some that listen to this, one of the things I think people need to realize that when you're building any network marketing business, it doesn't matter which one, you got to remember you're building a network marketing business. And the company is important. You need to be passionate about the product, but ultimately you're building a network marketing business and it needs to become your tribe, and you need to create your own culture, and you need to lead from the front. Whereas a lot of people plug into other people's systems. Well, if anything happens to the company or there's, friction within the group that they're in or things like that, they can lose that business really, really quickly. Like you got to figure out how to become that leader. And you also need to build a network marketing business, a culture that you can take with you if you need to somewhere. I've been a part of a company where I ran myself up to one of the top ranks in the company, making pretty good money, and that company went out of business, and there goes my paycheck month after month. Yeah. So that was the big change we made. We created a culture of, we're all going to go build a big network marketing business, as opposed to, the product's important. You want to be with a good company, but at the same time, you got to be somewhat nimble enough to move if you need to move or do something like that. And you look at any of the big network marketers out there, the guys who are making $1 million a year plus, they've switched companies 3-4 times. So I just try to get people in the mindset, if you're going to be a network marketer and that's your profession, that's what you want to do. Yep. You got to have some flexibility in your life, and you also got to leave the door cracked open just in case you need that door cracked open.
Yeah.
So not a lot of people do. Their companies go under and they're starting from scratch again.
For sure. And I feel like times are changing quite a bit now. And the cool thing is that there's so many, platforms and, the internet, like just like this, where you can really learn from or talk to other people around the world and create, these types of things for your business, right? Like you don't have to do things the way it's always been done anymore. And that's one thing that I always look at in businesses, where it's like, what about this? And you don't have to be local, just be local anymore to get your message out there, and also to create some of that residual income. So.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, the internet is my secret addiction. So I need to.
Hey, I've learned about 3 addictions from you now so far.
Yeah, I got a few. The real estate one. I go all in on a lot of things, but I'm also an action taker, which is served me well, and it's cost me a few times, but at the same time, for the most part, taking action will serve you well in the long run.
Well, somebody said to me one time, if you're not swinging the bat, right?
That's right.
If you're going to miss a lot of them, but when you do hit that one that knocks out of the park, I'm using your baseball analogy.
Yep,
I'm in Canada, so
we're tying it together.
Tying it together. But.
Hey, I spend my Thursday mornings in a hockey rink with my daughter, so I get it. So
okay, there you go. Yeah.
I can do hockey references too. We got plenty of those here in Minnesota.
Exactly. Well, it's the same, pretty much the same from where we are.
Yeah.
Kind of central west Canada, everybody, Montana, Minnesota.
Oh, sure.
Close to the same. Like people will ask us about accents. You don't really have it, or they'll say, "You really have an accent?"
Oh, you got an accent. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Really?
A little bit.
So I don't know. I could speak to what you were talking about earlier because I remember the first piece of real estate I bought was a condo. It was a 1-bedroom. And I bought it really low, sold it really high, but I had rented out for 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And the guy was great that I rented it out to. And I was like, wow, okay, I love real estate. And then when I met my wife, we had a property that we rented out and it was a nightmare. The tenant was terrible. And,
you nodding your heads earlier.
Yeah. And you go, okay, do I have a stomach for this? You know what I mean? So I can really attest to, if you're in the real estate game, you got to kind of understand it and learn.
And you become, when you build a business, and it's, kind of like we're talking about, anytime you want to build a business, if it becomes your business and you treat it like a business, you can get through that stuff that's a pain in the butt. You can get through all that by building scale, by having multiple properties, by treating it like a business. But for the people that are buying 1-2 rental properties and they want to manage it themselves to save a few dollars or things like that, that's when it gets pretty tough. And those are the people that get burned out really fast because they're burned out by their daily lives anyways.
Yeah.
And then, they have issues with a tenant in the middle of the night and they got to deal with that. And that's where it becomes frustrating for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So did you say you have 2 kids?
3 now.
3 now. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're married? Do you have a wife?
Yep.
Get out of here.
Sorry. And we're getting photos.
I got a kid. I can see him.
Yeah. I didn't have any kids. What are you talking about?
That one right there in the hat.
Okay.
So I got 3 kids, 9, 7, and 2.
So your wife, is she involved in the business part at all, or what does she do? How is she in?
Not really. I mean, we have a pretty good understanding of where we're both at. So she had her own career before we got married and she enjoys her career. She's an art director for a graphic design firm. And so she'll occasionally help me with a logo or something, but even usually that stuff I don't ask for just because when we're home, we don't want to deal with work. But she, she gets it. She supports it at the same time. Like she just had a different upbringing. She likes her job. She likes the position she has there. She gets treated well. She's got, respect and all that kind of stuff. And so we, in our particular case, I'm envious of you guys for that. We keep ours separate, but we also found a way to where it makes it work at home the way we can both enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if you would know this about us or not, but when we first met, we both had, jobs too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was in the corporate world for like 15 years before I started my own business. And he started the entrepreneur journey, before me too as well. So we've gone through a few different transitions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Together as a couple. So now we're at the spot where we're doing this together. So we're relearning how to do that together and make it work. So it's been interesting.
Yeah. We haven't had that conversation yet. It's she started at a different company a couple of years ago, and now she's got stock options and authority and all this stuff, and she enjoys it. And it's it's no reason to rock that boat. I know she likes the consistency. As a lifelong entrepreneur, I've definitely had the ups and downs over the years. I got stories. I got I've had bricks thrown at me. I had an employee fake cancer and then go rob a bank. I've had all kinds of weird stuff. So.
Oh my gosh, that sounds juicy, but maybe for another episode.
Next time, you know, we'll send you a link. That story's online somewhere.
I don't know any bank robbers. So
there's all kinds of goofy stuff that comes along the way, but yeah, in the end, I love the entrepreneur stuff, just like you guys do. I'm okay with the swings. Things don't faze me if something doesn't go well or there's an issue. Yeah. I don't know. I don't let my emotions get too high or too low when it comes to business. It's just what's our next step?
Yeah, and it is a pretty interesting journey, but it's so funny now that, you know, I'm on it and realize I have stories too when I was younger of all kinds of different entrepreneurial things that I've done. And when I look back, I'm like, wow, like I was actually really good. Like I like imported lobsters and so like there's
Christmas trees.
Yeah.
I had a whole assembly line.
Recruiting the whole family. Had an assembly line.
Oh yeah, nice.
But anyways,
it's just like network marketing, but it doesn't get the bad rap.
Right? It was all under the table. Cash deals, they're awesome too. No, anyways.
Right.
But what was I trying to say? It's funny because now that I've been doing it, I just can't see myself doing anything else. It like becomes your drug, right? Like there's so many highs, and oh my God, there are lows too. But it's just like that adrenaline. It's awesome, and I know you get that. Entrepreneurs. So
yep, the highs are great. Doing the deals are great. That's the other thing, you know, not to like totally toot network marketing's horn, but for the struggling entrepreneur, somebody who's kind of working through and trying to get something off the ground, that's one of the things I really like about it. So right after that cancer bank robbery story, we'll talk about some other day. That was when I got introduced to the network marketing company that I do now. And it just like the timing was right because this guy, he didn't just fake cancer and rob a bank and do all this other stuff. He stole quite a bit of money from my company. It was a big headache, big, you know, ordeal that we had to go through. But at the same time, my buddy caught me at the right time with this network marketing company. And what I liked about it, 90% of the reason I did it was because I wanted the small wins, because it was a $300 product. I'm good at selling stuff, and it's just bam, 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 bam. It's like, so I keep collecting these small wins, and sometimes that's tough in entrepreneurship to get those little wins. And those little wins fill your like energy bucket, so that you can continue to keep going. And if you're dealing, especially in real estate, I mean, it might be 3, 4, 5 months between selling a house or something like that. And if there's problems along the way, it's tough to get re-energized to wake up and keep going the next day. So that was one of the things I like about it. If nothing else, you know, in the beginning, I wasn't making piles and piles of money doing it, but I like the small victories. And sometimes you need those small victories just to keep going.
Keep the momentum
Tide
going.
you over till the big victories come.
Right. So I just need a little bit of the drug. Just give me a taste. Just give me a small win on something. So
yeah, like the coffee doesn't always cut it, you know.
Right.
I try that every day with the coffee. I brew the coffee and I'm like, honey, really? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Small win.
All right.
So we always like to ask everybody about their superpower. So we were wanting to know, what is your secret superpower?
Yeah, you know, I guess if I was to boil down a superpower, something I'm good at, that's always came well with our real estate coaching programs, but also what we're doing with the Residual Bulldog now. It's funny, you know, I was trying to think about this earlier, but at the same time, it just kind of hit me. It's that I'm really good at breaking down where people are at and figuring out where we need to get them started from. I'm really good at stepping back, like listening, because everybody's situation is different and everybody has different life experiences. Everybody has different sets of knowledge and skill sets and all these different things that have happened in their past that they're starting from a different point. It's figuring out where they're at, stepping back, and then logically figuring out their next steps. And we're trying to focus on helping people do that within business and residual income now. Like, how do we get there? But how do we take the skill sets that you already have? How do we take your life experiences and all that kind of fun stuff and put you in the best spot to win and give you those next 3 steps, next 3 easy things that you can go do to keep moving the ball forward? And so that's kind of the one thing we've been really successful with, whether it's with real estate students that we're working with or with our network marketing team or things like that, is getting people down to what they're strongest at. So, you know, not to go back to people's or the problems in some of the other parts of the industry, but when you're going to a real estate seminar, they try and teach you how to do everything. Here's how to do everything. Here's how to market for deals. Here's how to negotiate the deals. Here's how to sell it. Here's how to flip it. Here's how to do the construction. And people don't have the skill sets to do all those different things. Same thing in network marketing. You need to invite. You need to do a sales pitch. You need to close. You need to work through your people. You need to manage your team. You need to onboard them. people don't have it. So we're really good at grouping people down, finding their strengths, and just surrounding, whether it's ourselves or getting them to surround themselves with people that complement them so they can keep going forward. So, ultimately at the end of the day, I've done enough business to where I want to continually work from a positive place where I'm doing what I'm strongest at. And that's what we want to help people do, because as long as we're doing that, we're doing what we're strongest at and passionate about, then everybody's happier. And when everybody's happier, we're all more successful.
That's right. Everybody wins.
That's great.
That's an awesome superpower to have.
Now,
so do you have any questions for us?
It's, I guess it's interesting to see what you guys have going on now, how you came together and started working together. I guess one thing, I will ask you a question. You don't mind where I go, right?
No.
Yeah, right. No, I scared you. It's not that big a deal. One of the things that I've learned in partnerships, and one of the questions that, I would have for two people that are married together and work together is, it's always big in partnerships for you each to have your own kind of responsibilities and their own things that you kind of trump at. So how do you delegate responsibilities amongst each other so that you're both, working your strengths?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll go first. We actually are in the middle of, still figuring that out. And to be honest, I think that's going to be an ongoing thing. We have a lot of similarities, but we also have very individual strengths, right? That complement each other as well. So what we're working on is really breaking down actually the roles that we want to take and figuring out what our superpowers are and what we're really good at, and double downing on that, and me focusing on that and running with that area, him focusing on that, running with that area, because we know that that's really important, so we're not entangling or over each other. I don't even know if that makes sense, that word.
Doing rework, right? Because she right. Up to me before. She'll be working on something and then I'll come in and I'll do, and she's like, that's rework. We've already, right. That is something that we're working on as we speak, really.
Right. Like for him, he's really good at like the relationship building, in person type stuff, rapport building, sales kind of stuff. Right. And I'm like, I honestly, like, people might say I'm good at it, but I would prefer not to do that piece, right? Like you're good at it. I don't want to like try and be something that I'm not or doesn't make me comfortable. So yeah. We're
cool. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to give you a confusing question. Like partnerships are interesting, and
it's not confusing. It's good to ask, and like I said, because this is really the beginning for us the last couple months, and we haven't even fully jumped in together yet on this because the other business is still winding down as well, right? And we have a lot.
But it's great you asked that, because it's a really good thing to identify in a partnership, right? Who's right. And we've talked about that, what's your role, what's my role? And I would say that's something from my previous experience where there is a defined role, but it really wasn't that, if that makes sense. Like, so being able to say that and say, okay, and then making sure that it speaks to your strengths is important. And it evolved.
And if we got, I don't know how much time we have here. I've been paying attention to the clock, but if we got 2 minutes, I'm going to piggyback on that. One more thing for your listeners, that this was my most recent kind of, epiphany that I had, that I learned from somebody who runs a huge, like 8-figure coaching, speaking business, very successful, somebody I trust a lot. He lived in Dallas, and I was running a mastermind meeting in Dallas about 2-3 months ago, and he came and spoke. He did like a 2-hour keynote for us. And at the end of it, he talked about finding A players and having them do what they do. So basically, you go and you find experts and have experts do what they do. So for you guys, you're going to figure out your roles. And this isn't me trying to educate or preach, but this is more for all the listeners. So anybody who's out there, you've got the org chart of your business, and you just want to figure out how can you get the best people in each one of those spots. And the second you find somebody and you're like, well, that person should go into my marketing category, but there's somebody that you think you can train and mold. I don't know what he was saying, and what I believe kind of after 20 years of doing this stuff is that I'm going to stay away from that person. I don't necessarily want to train or mold anybody right now. I want to go find the best people for each category. It'll get rid of so many of the headaches, and that's a lot of what we're doing now with the Residual Bulldog and that business is figure out every position that needs to be in your business, plug yourselves into your strengths and go find the best people in North America to fill in those other slots.
Yeah.
I love that. And I'm totally on that page with you too, because, and you know, it's taking the emotion side out of it. It's not like people aren't trainable or they can't, but you know, as a business owner, like you don't have to do that, right? You don't have to get the right people in the right positions, and Bob's your own.
It's tough as a, you know, as a newer business. I can see where newer entrepreneurs have a tough time with it. And I've been guilty of this. I don't know how many dozens of times, probably hundreds of times, where I hire somebody because their price is right. And I think I can mold them and fix them into what I want. But in the end, they cost me way more than had I just hired that A player up front or hired that person that can just go do it up front. So, you know, a lot of the mentors that I know both of us listen to, you know, they talk about that all the time. You know, just hire A players, don't play with the B and C players. And, you know, but that was my big epiphany recently. And, you know, that's one of the biggest things I've taken away the last few months with a lot of stuff we're doing is, you know, I can't know everything. I mean, even real estate, like I've been doing real estate for 20 years, but I should not be the one marketing for deals. I probably shouldn't be the one negotiating to go buy the deal in the first place. Like I'm better off on the whole rehab side. And like, I've got the parts that I'm good at. We've got other people to do the other stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's one thing I think that everyone should take away is quit trying to do everything yourself and let experts do what experts do and go find yourself a, you know, superhero team.
It also works both ways, because when you have the right people in the right positions, then those employees are also, you know, motivated because they're doing what they're good at. They're getting those wins and whatnot. So it's just a no-brainer.
So find A players and figure out how to pay them. That's what my buddy Jay said exactly. So the mastermind said, find A players and figure out how to pay them.
Well, I don't know if you were at the Boise event, but I think it was Steven Larson said something, or one of the coaches anyway, said something about, you know, you're not buying other people's time, you're buying your time back.
Right. Yep.
Think about that when you're hiring people, right?
Absolutely true.
I love that.
You know, I can paint this house myself if I want to, except for I could hire people to do it for, you know, it'd probably take me 2 weeks and I'd do a mediocre job. I could hire professionals to do a professional job in 2 days. And I've got 8 more days to go out and make more money than it probably costs to pay them anyways.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Tying it back, I was just thinking about that. It's interesting as you're saying that and thinking of our ad agency, how many interns over the years have come and gone who have no experience. They're out of school and technically they cost you money because they're there to learn. And by the time they're scaled enough to understand, they're going back to school or they're moving.
Right.
So
Yep. You know, find A players, figure out how to pay them. So.
Yeah.
Find A players, figure out how to pay them. We're writing that on the wall.
Yeah, there you go.
The Colonel.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
This is another thing we're going to work on, the rules.
Yeah, there you go.
I just wanted to quickly, before we wrap this up, if you can let us know and our viewers or listeners how they can get in touch with you.
You know, the biggest thing we're kind of working on right now and the best place is residualbulldog.com. So the site really just got wrapped up here the last week. So it all works. The contact us works and everything. That's the best place to go. And then, all over Facebook, and we're really just launching all the Residual Bulldog stuff, but that's the easiest way for me to tell you to get a hold of me right now is residualbulldog.com. Fill out the contact us form. There's links there to our new podcast as well, so people can certainly click on that, listen to that. I think there's 4 episodes there now. And we're launching a lot of training programs coming up here over the next couple months. So the real estate deal coordinator, which is the system I created, which has a lot to do with what I was talking about here at the end with relationship building and how can you build a real estate business without having to do everything yourself. That program's coming out July 12th of this year. And I'm excited for that launch. That should be pretty cool. And then in August, we're coming out with another course on network marketing called Profitable Network Marketing. So
awesome.
So yeah, but residualbulldog.com, that's the umbrella that houses everything. So feel free to check that out, and yeah, love to get feedback from anybody.
And that's Residual Bulldog, not Bullfrog.
Right. Don't confuse people. Now I gotta go buy Residual Bullfrog. You guys get to
better buy that and redirect it.
Right.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye.
Bye.